a bloodthirsty creature that wreaks havoc, a plague of supernatural origin, and a maiden who must be sacrificed for the sake of humanity. The film Nosferatu, both the original and the recent version, encompass archetypical mythical figures and events that derive from ancient Greek mythology and modern Greek folklore. I'm your host Marialena, and in today's podcast episode from Helinika, we dive into the tropes of one of the best horror films of the year. The podcast episode contains spoilers. Nosferatu is the main antagonist in the film. In Old Romanian, his name means the offensive one, a word that described a supernatural creature that caused a moral panic throughout Eastern Europe in the 18th and 19th centuries. You may have heard of this creature thanks to modern media. Nosferatu is a vampire, the dead that, due to the demonic influence, become undead and wreak havoc among the living, drinking their blood, spreading diseases, spoiling their food and devouring their bodies. Just like in Romania, Greece had countless reports of vampire sightings in the early modern period. Wreaks, they were called, and they were not pale nor good-looking. They resembled zombies with a black, decaying corpse, bloodshot eyes, and a half-ripped jaw that kept their mouths open. The film's grotesque vampire, the Nosferatu, and his grotesque attacks resemble the folkloric Eastern European monster much more than Bram Stoker's Dracula and our modern Edward Cullen from Twilight. There is one peculiar part in the plot, however, that distinguishes the movie character from the Wreaks of Greece. Nosferatu has the ability to travel from Transylvania to Germany by boat, crossing the seas. On the other hand, the Greek undead are unable to cross a body of water, an element linked to purification, and many believe that this applies to traveling in a type of vessel. In fact, this belief was so widespread that villagers would often place cemeteries far, far away on the opposite side of a river. Islanders, on the other hand, took this to another extent. They turned unoccupied isles into cemeteries for those whose corpses could become undead. Who were the usual suspects, you may ask? Evil, sinful people, those who did witchcraft, perpetrators and victims of manslaughter, and the list goes on. But if they were not removed from the land, the Wreaks would terrorize the nearby villages every night, until a ritual would be performed to deter them from exiting their graves. Just like in the film, the Wreaks are creatures of the night. They fear daylight and return to their graves before the roosters for morning crow. The rooster's crow is the signal that the nighttime is going to rest and the daytime arises. Before alarms were created to wake us up in the morning, people in rural areas would be alerted by the livestock about the sunrise. Now, let's see a difference between the film Nosferatu and the folkloric traditions of Greece and other Balkan countries. Contrary to the film's plot, the Wreaks can be stopped if identified, without a human sacrifice or trickery. The local priest would gather the bravest men of the village and visit the cemetery during the daytime. Together, they would dig up the recent graves to find the body that was not decomposed or showed other signs of vampirism. They would nail the body to its coffin and remove the heart, which they would burn in boiling vinegar. As they feared the demon that resided in the body would curse them, the villagers would bring a scarecrow or a piece of clothing hanging from a broom with them, which would be presented as the vampire's traitor, the one who knew his true identity and brought the villagers against him. Bringing a fake scapegoat was crucial. According to some old records of vampiric encounters, the fake traitors would spontaneously combust, turning into ashes within seconds after the vampire's heart touched the burning vinegar. In the film Nosferatu, however, a woman needs to willingly sacrifice herself and trick the vampire into staying out of his grave after the rooster's morning crow, leading him to his destruction until another lifetime begins. The plot differs to the original folkloric traditions, but it does bear some similarities to some ancient Greek myths, such as the one of Andromeda. Andromeda was a mythical princess of Ethiopia. When she was a young maiden, her parents would often compare her to the Nereids, the water nymphs, even daring to say that she was more beautiful than all of them. This statement made Poseidon, the god of the seas and father of the Nereids, furious, sending a gigantic sea monster, the Cetus, to destroy their kingdom. And the only way to appease the gods would be to offer the princess to the monster to be devoured, a solution that the king and queen agreed to move forward with. And there was Andromeda, tied on a rock, overlooking the open seas. Another maiden that had to die for humanity's sake, only to be saved last minute by the hero Perseus. Unfortunately, in Nosferatu, the heroine does not have the same fate, as her hero arrives too late. Another connection between the film and Greek legends is the use of blood as the ultimate source of life and the most desired resource for the undead. In the ancient Greek epic poem, the Odyssey, the hero Odysseus has to open a portal to the underworld to talk to the spirit of a seer named Tiresias, and to be successful, he is instructed to sacrifice a number of animals and let the seer drink from the pool of blood. The poet Homer describes how countless thirsty spirits cross the portal. The hero needs to defend the precious resource and save it from Tiresias, who, after satisfying his thirst, is able to gain power and instruct Odysseus on how to find his way back home. But the undead craving blood is not the only similarity between Nosferatu and Greek folkloric beliefs. In the film, we see that the arrival of the vampire to a small German town coincides with the spread of an unidentified disease that causes countless deaths. Similarly, ancient Greeks would often attribute plagues to a supernatural cause, usually caused by the wrath of the gods. And moreover, during different religious events, such as the Anthesteria, the ancient Greek version of Halloween, they would try to appease the spirits of the dead with offerings or by scaring them away with loud music. So, there seems to be a fear of the dead in multiple cultures, especially in the sense that the dead can cause misfortune, such as a plague or more deaths. At times when the exact reasons why a decomposing body could spread microbes and the diseases they cause, humans saw a connection between death, decomposition, and infection. There is a reason why we are shocked at the sight of dead bodies, or why we find the decomposing odor disgusting and unbearable. They pose a threat to our health. There is no wonder why so many stories throughout the centuries made sure to make one point clear: the living are for the living, and the dead for the dead. What are your thoughts on the connections between Nosferatu and ancient to modern folklore? Perhaps you are from another Eastern European country and you have another take on these beliefs. I'm really curious to see your stories in the comment section. If you like this podcast episode, you will definitely like the first episode of this series. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay connected. And you can share this video to someone you watch this movie with and start a discussion about the topic together. Let's stay in touch and we meet again on the next podcast episode.